Wednesday, so you know what that means. The dog is in the house, as in Mad Dog Russo and all his minions out there, ready to protect him, to come to his defense, acting like they can go up against me. It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen, but I will confess this on national television. The brothers' wardrobe has upgraded. You see the influence I have on people? You see the influence that I have? First takes in the house. You see that? The mouth, she ain't even on camera. That's Molly for you. First takes in the house. Let's go.
Curry, hesitation move on Luka. Shooting the three, buries it. Stephen Curry, night.
Let's go. Now that we stand in the battle, we fall.
6 out of 8 years.
You look at us winning, we getting awards.
Ability to play in another finals.
It's just the beginning, we're getting started.
We have an opportunity to go finish the job.
Oh, the NBA Finals are here, and we got the matchup we were all hoping for. At least some of us did. It's Wednesday, so Christopher Mad Dog Russo in the house looking dapper.
Do you like the jacket?
I like the hair.
Jacket is pretty good.
The hair.
Stephen A. Baby!
There's a lot.
How is this jacket?
The jacket.
Give Jeannie Russo credit doing all the wardrobe shopping.
I love it.
She's done a good job.
She's the real MVP.
Oh, absolutely.
She is the real MVP, and I love me some Jeannie Russo, but the bottom line is that the tie was not working.
She was very annoyed by that. She thought the tie worked perfectly last week. She said Stephen A. was dead wrong. That's a quote. That's a quote.
You know what? But you saw what she did today, right? So she's listening.
She's
listening.
Literally have matching ties on today, so I better not hear anything.
Well, it's not actually. It's a little bit different in terms of material, but I understand.
And I saw his outfit on the NBA there. What was it, Friday? He made sure he texted me. He says, watch what I'm watching wearing tonight.
What?
I gave him the heads up. I gave him the heads up.
Could you handle it?
Yeah, it was funny. I made sure I watched it, though.
Goodness.
I made sure I took a look at it.
You do understand I was featured in GQ. You do know.
Oh, do you really?
No, that did happen.
All right, okay.
We can move on.
So this is a lot of compliments at 10:02:20. I can't keep them counting. All right, speaking of fabric cut from a different cloth, that would be Steph Curry. My goodness. Has almost all the accolades. Obviously a future Hall of Famer, 8-time All-Star, 2-time MVP, 2-time scoring champ. I can go on, 3-time champion. But he has an opportunity, gentlemen, to catapult himself to an even higher echelon. We got to look back before we can go forward. Here's how he's fared in the finals thus far. Curry's finals production has been eerily similar with or without KD on the floor, but when both played in finals games together, they held a 9-1 record. Curry shot 38% from downtown in games with and without Kevin Durant. Mad Dog, how would a loss impact at how we look at Curry's overall career?
This is a very important series from that standpoint. The stats do not indicate Game 7 against Cleveland, the year the Cavs beat them, where he was awful, shooting threes and turning the ball over and was outplayed by Kyrie Irving. Somehow that's not in there, where he was not good in the big game and could not get his team home up 3-1 in that series with 2 home games. Let's not forget that before we sit there and put Curry on this high class, as I think my little buddy over here might do here momentarily. Here's the thing about Curry. He's won 3 titles, okay? The first title that he won, if you care about MVPs in the NBA Finals, he wasn't. They beat Cleveland in 6 games. Cavs had no Kyrie, no Kevin Love, and if you want to go look at the Cavalier lineup in Game 6, Stephen A. and I could have started. I mean, Deladova, that was as bad as you ever going to say. It was a horrendous team that LeBron took to a Game 6. The other 2 finals, Durant was the better player. All right? So to me, and then he lost a horrendous loss when the Cavs beat him. So to me, from that standpoint, this is a very significant series here against the Celtics.
Well, first of all, a couple of things. I love how you point certain things out. First of all, the year Andre Iguodala won the MVP, that could have easily gone to Steph Curry. A lot of people thought that he deserved it. But Andre Iguodala was so pivotal in key moments, particularly defensively, that you had to give him some love. Plus, he hit a lot of big-time shots because he was wide open because they were teaming up on Curry. But I would remind you that Curry played lights out in that NBA Finals, the first one that they won against that suspect lineup that you pointed out. Fair enough. When he goes against LeBron James and them, when they lost the 3-1 lead,
He was awful in the last 3 games. He was shooting, horrifically compared to what we're accustomed to seeing him. Plus, he had like 7 assists and 12 turnovers over the course of those last 3 games. So definitely he has to be indicted for that. But I recall Magic Johnson once being called Tragic Johnson because Magic Johnson struggled in the postseason in the finals against the Boston Celtics. Remember when Dennis Johnson stripped him? You remember when he turned the ball over on 3 separate occasions, okay? And they lost that NBA Finals of Game 7 to the Boston Celtics. But they came back and won. I love how we remember what Magic Johnson went through and what he overcame, but we want to forget what Steph Curry overcame. Now, granted, Kevin Durant arrived there, and we understand it. Well, why did Kevin Durant arrive there? Because LeBron had a healthy Kyrie Irving. LeBron had a healthy Kevin Love. And obviously, before that, he was in Miami, and he had assembled with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and all of this other stuff. And Kevin Durant was like, well, why can't I do that? Now, I didn't like the move to Golden State because they had just beaten them they had just overcome a 3-1 lead and beaten Oklahoma City Thunder. So 30 days later, you go to that team that beat you. I didn't have any respect for that at all. But outside of that, there is no denying that Kevin Durant is one of the elite talents the game has ever seen. And Steph Curry not being better than Kevin Durant is no shade. People want to act like that, but if you look at Steph Curry's career numbers, he's averaging over 25, 6, and 5 in the NBA playoffs throughout his career. This is a guy, and people treat him like he just falls off the map and suddenly forgets how to play. No, he still balls. It's just that he had to be a bit deferential in terms of his talent. It's one of the greatest offensive players this game has ever seen. And you could bring up Bird, you could bring up Magic, you could bring up Jordan, you could bring up the very, very best that has ever existed in NBA history. Kevin Durant as an offensive player is in that conversation because that is how lethal he is. So let's pump the brakes a little bit on being critical of Steph Curry and instead recognize the fact that it's no crime in not being Kevin Durant. 6'11" with a 7'6" wingspan that can shoot from threes, got a mid-range game that's lethal, can finish in the open court, can score, can generate, can register at 88% free throw shooting. This is Kevin freaking Durant that we're talking about here. Let's respect that when we're talking about Steph Curry.
Listen, I'm with you about Durant, but Stephen conveniently forgot that before Magic collapsed against the Celtics in '84, he scored 40-something points with millions of assists in Game 6 against Philly when he was a rookie and won a championship and Kareem didn't play. You forgot about that.
I did not forget about that. Are you going to forget that he was going against Caldwell Jones? And Chocolate Thunder, Daryl Dawkins, who by the time, let's go from an historical perspective. You know this, Daryl Dawkins, God rest his soul, was a walking foul. The man breathing in your direction. The number one thing that would happen that Daryl Dawkins couldn't stay in the game for 10 minutes at a time to save his life. He'd pick up 6 fouls in that period of time. That too Magic Johnson was going up against. That and Caldwell Jones, who nobody's writing home about. So stop it.
Well, he also won another championship against Philly, so you're killing Magic for next 84. I'm not killing Magic. He already won 2 titles.
Don't you dare say I'm killing Magic.
You're putting him with the Durant. You're putting him with Curry. That's ridiculous.
Magic Johnson's going to be working with us tomorrow night at the Chase Center. Don't you act like I'm killing Magic Johnson. I'm doing no such thing. And he's watching right now. I got to be careful.
And he was awful. The bar is so, him and Cooper taking showers after they lost Game 7 against Boston. He was awful. Well, I'm with you. But come on now. You have one. He was so upset. He was all upset because, in fact, they were. But you seem to forget. Hold on now. Magic won the 2. Plus, he won in college. So to sit there and even say, well, hold on now. Magic had a bad series too. Wait, Curry had a bad series.
Well, wait a minute.
Magic had won 3 times already.
But Magic was a champion, and Steph Curry was a champion before the 3-1 lead was lost. He was a champion already. He won the title first.
Against the team that you and I could have played for. Come on, Stevie. You're better than that.
Time out. It was still LeBron James on that team, number 1. Number 2, Golden State was young. It was their first time in the finals. They had never been there before. So Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, we didn't know what they were capable of. We didn't know they were going to be who they are. We didn't know this at the time. They were puppies. Okay, that was their first time in that kind of atmosphere, and they handled their business.
Shumpert, Tristan Thompson, and Mozgov.
Hey.
That is. I can get the guys the big key shot and Jay Williams at 5 o'clock this afternoon. you.
No,
that is as big as it gets.
They would not lose.
You get no credit for that if you're Curry for beating that nonsense.
You get no credit for it. How about the credit to get to the finals before you actually won it? Let's not forget that, okay? This is a championship that we're talking about here. And all I'm trying to say to you is this. When you look at it from the standpoint of Steph Curry and them getting there for the first time, he was a champion, and then they lost the 3-1 lead, okay, to LeBron and a Cleveland Cavaliers squad that was fully loaded. And then after that, because he played 73 games, they were trying to break the all-time record. They were doing all of that other stuff, and they exhausted themselves, and they came back to bite Steph Curry because he wasn't 100% healthy, which you know.
So now we have excuses now.
No excuses. It's facts.
Here is the fact. I am tired of these players making excuses in any sport. Here's what it comes down to.
Go ahead.
If you're injured, don't play. If you play, you're not injured. I can't listen to this idea while he was banged up, so he got. I'm not interested. You know, Bird played with a broken wrist against the Lakers in '85. I can't listen to this.
I was listening to you do your radio show a couple of years ago, and I think if I remember correctly, you had a really, really bad cold. And your voice was a little bit hoarse, and you didn't sound like the Mad Dog. You understand what I'm saying? Good afternoon, everybody!
I didn't give you a good one.
You couldn't do any of that stuff because your voice was a little hoarse. Now, you showed up to work, but you weren't yourself.
But I still got
That's
the
my point.
content
You
I
weren't
needed.
yourself.
I still got the information I needed.
You got the information, but you didn't get doggy. I mean, you didn't get Mad Dog Russo that day. You got doggy. You understand? But you got Mad Dog Russo, but you didn't get doggy, okay?
What about his sentiment, though, about the injured, that whole
listen,
quote?
I get tired of it as well. Don't get me wrong. I understand that to a point. All I'm trying to say is it wasn't like Steph Curry didn't play. He played. He showed up. But he wasn't 100% healthy, and we understand that. And then, by the way, the two NBA Finals, one of those NBA Finals, you had some people thinking that Steph Curry should have been the MVP instead of Kevin Durant. Now, I was a guy that
Who said that?
There were several people that were saying that because Steph Curry was balling during those NBA Finals with Steph Curry. It's just that Kevin Durant, bottom line is, this brother was lethal.
He's great. He said he's the best player on the team. I understand.
Okay. Let's get to the game.
Right.
Game 1 tomorrow night, 9 Eastern. You said Magic's going to be a part of the broadcast.
Yeah,
Can't wait for that. You're going to be in San Francisco.
He's supposed to show up. I don't want to be scared. I don't want to be scared.
He's going to show up.
Because sitting next to me, knowing that he got to debate me, I mean, it'd be a problem.
Okay, settle down.
You know what I'm saying?
All right. The Warriors hope the odds stay in their favor in their quest for a 7th NBA title. The team split the regular season series at 1 apiece. This is the second ever finals meeting between these two, and the first since I put this in for you because I know you like history. Since 1964, it did happen. Celtics 1-5. Then you probably already knew that.
Wilt played for San Francisco. That was the year where Wilt was with the Warriors.
I see. I knew it.
And Russo beat him.
What are you, a walking encyclopedia?
Well, that's an easy one.
Okay.
That is easy one.
Let's get to it though. Because I don't know this. Who do you have winning the series?
Well, first off, the Warriors deservedly so are a favorite. Okay. They have the home court. They're great in that building. I think the Celtics might be plus 140. So if you put $100 on the Celtics and they win, you win $140, which I think is that's a solid underdog. It's not overwhelming, but that's a significant underdog. And I think you have to make Golden State your favorite. I'm not sure who it's not a pick'em series if you think it's that. Right. Golden State's a legit favorite in the
when
series.
You're talking about me in basketball, you could say Stephen Naismith. That works. Stephen Naismith works, but you can do that.
Sometimes people make up their own nickname, you know. Usually other people do it.
You're hot stuff. You're pretty good at this.
We can,
You're not bad.
You can go with that. You can go with that.
You give me compliments, I'll give you one. You're not bad. I will take the Celtics here. I'm going to take the Celtics to win in 6 games. Can I give you the reasons?
Sure.
I'd love the reason.
Want to hear the reason?
Sure. I mean, please.
Yeah.
We've
got like 50 more minutes.
I did not like the way they finished against Miami. All right, they were awful in Game 6, and they were waiting to lose in Game 7. And I have no problem with Butler taking that 3, by the way. Okay. I have major issues with the way they finished. But I think the Celtics, with their size, with their defense, I think they're going to be a little loosier-goosier in this series because the pressure, to me, is more on Curry and Golden State to win that championship that they haven't won in a couple of years. I think the layoff is perfect. They go from Sunday night to Thursday night. It's not the next day, like, say, the Rangers are going to have to do in the hockey.
Yeah.
Right.
They get to 3 days, which to me is outstanding. And I think the fact that the Celtics beat the Nets, who had Durant and Curry, beat Milwaukee, the defending champions, albeit no Middleton. They still won the series in 7 games. They won 3 road games in Miami, a gritty, hard-nosed, tough ball club. I think they're a little better battle-tested. Golden State, they beat Denver without Murray. They got the break of. They beat Morant, who missed the layup in game 1 and didn't play the last couple games of that series, and they had to work hard to beat Memphis. And they got the break of all time, in my eyes, that Dallas did their dirty work by beating Phoenix. So from that standpoint, I am going to take the Celtics. Now the problem with taking the Celtics, you can't take them in the 7th game. I know they won a 7th game in Miami. I get that. You can't think they're going to win it. Now Curry's lost game 7s at home. We saw it, Cleveland. But I can't take Boston to 7 games. So I'm going to have to be, because I don't like them on a road scenario there.
They've been good on the road, though.
I know, but that arena, a little tricky. I will say, to make it fair, to make a fair prediction, I will say Stevie will be on a plane back to New York on, let's see, what's the date on that? On Friday morning, June 16th. Boston in 6.
I get where you're coming from. And by the way, you brought up the Chase Center. I haven't been there. I'm going.
Oh, everybody loves it.
This
No,
is
you have a good time.
This is my first time ever.
It's supposed to be beautiful.
Well,
I liked Oakland, though.
I'm being given a tour of the building.
Oh, really?
You know,
let me guess.
When I get this,
Kerr giving it to you before?
I'll be giving.
Are they going to carry you out on the throne and feed you grapes?
I'm just saying. I mean, I'm just saying. They're gonna give me a tour of the Chase Center. I'm looking forward to this. It's been a while. I haven't been there, and I love that crowd. Having said all of that, let me say this to you, Doggy. I think this is a pick'em series. I think this is that close. I don't think that anybody can definitively say that Boston can't beat this Golden State Warriors team. They're bigger. They're more physical. They have rim protection. They have size at every position outside of Smart. And although Smart doesn't have that size in terms of height, he's bulky enough, no question. He's a pit bull, and he's the reigning defensive player of the year. He really, really gives it to you. And by the way, he's the one that hurt Curry, diving for the loose ball and dived on his leg and what have you. So let's keep that in mind. And the reason I bring that up is because you never know how that works in the mind's eye when you have somebody who plays with reckless abandon and really goes all out. You know, when you're going up against somebody like that, particularly when you've gotten hurt before, it might give you cause to pause when it goes to getting that extra loose ball or anything like that. So you got to take that into consideration and consider how that's going to be mindful. I went back and watched the tape of Boston versus Golden State in the regular season when Boston lost in Boston to Golden State. And I saw some of the plays, their denial of the basketball of Steph Curry, their willingness to double team, they're drawing offensive fouls. They do things that other teams in the Western Conference did not do against Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors this year. So I look at it from that standpoint, the fact that they have 2 scorers. Boston is formidable. I'm just of the mindset that I'm always going to flow with the shooters. When you're a marksman, that ultimately is the difference. And I think the combination of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Jordan Poole is a huge factor. If they didn't have a Jordan Poole, meaning that third wheel that could give you some offense, I would feel differently. I would pick Boston to win the series. But the fact that you've got those 3, and you've got a guy like Andrew Wiggins and Kuminga, even though they're young, but they both got size and height on them to match a Tatum and a Jaylen Brown defensively, I think that's something that we can't ignore. I think ultimately Golden State, I'm going with them in 7. I think this series goes 7 back at the Chase Center. This is a 1-game 7. Even though Boston's 7-2 on the road, I don't think they win that game 7 on the road either. I think it goes 7. I think Golden State wins it in 7.
Warriors in 7, Boston in 6. Before we go, Bill Russell's 1964 final stat line. Do you know it?
I'm going to say probably 19 rebounds and 19 points, 28 rebounds.
11, 25, and 5. I expect better from you.
More than a, he wasn't a great scorer, Russell. He scored when he had to score. And remember, they beat them. Philadelphia beat them 2 years later in the final when the Sixers because they beat Barry and Nate Thurman. That's right. So San Francisco lost those 2 in a 3-year period there. Right. If you care.
He's right.
I do care. I'm going to keep testing you on
And you know what my favorite all-time team is?
What?
The 75 Warriors who beat Washington in 4 straight because I love Rick Barry. Al Ados played all those guys. It was before you were born.
No,
but he played all those guys.
But I got you. Yes, I'm aware about Barry.
I love that.
75 Warriors. Okay.
75.
This is about to be a lot because now I'm going to have Stephen Naismith, Mad Dog, and the Mouth of the South. But that's what we're about to do. Some college football to get to. SEC spring meetings. Nick Saban again said he regrets singling out Texas A&M when discussing his issues with how teams are using NIL rules to help shape rosters. Saban, however, defended his comments in which he claimed Aggies coach Jimbo Fisher bought every player by saying this on Tuesday. Take a listen.
I didn't really say that anybody did anything wrong.
You said they bought their recruiting players.
I didn't say anybody did anything wrong, okay? And I've said everything I'm going to say about this. And I should have never mentioned any individual institutions. I said that before.
Jimbo lying when he says that they didn't do anything?
I have no problem with Jimbo. I have no problem with Jimbo at all.
There he is, the one and only Paul Feinbaum. Paul, so great to see you. Before we get started,
Where is
Paul,
he?
this is what I need to know. I understand you're in Destin, Florida. I've never been there, and I've heard incredible things. Is it really that beautiful? Because it looks it.
Molly, the beaches are the best in the world. Come on down. Don't.
Oh my
don't
gosh,
I want you to bring Stephen A. Leave that other interloper home, though. Okay.
Oh, so disrespectful. It does look gorgeous, though.
It looks gorgeous. I have not. It looks gorgeous, but I will say this: I a West Indian man, you know. I'm from the islands. All right, me and my family from the islands. Well, St. Thomas, St. Croix, Antigua.
Yeah.
As beautiful as that looks, it don't look better than St. Thomas.
No, for sure.
Let me be very clear.
Yeah.
We can move on.
Okay. Paul, I'm going to start with you. Who do you think looks worse here? And I can't wait to hear you on this. Is it Saban or is it Jimbo?
Well, it's Jimbo because Saban made a mistake. He said something that he probably had said privately, and I bet Stephen A. Smith knows what I'm talking about here, but he didn't intend to publicly embarrass anyone. That's not Nick Saban's way. He has never done that before in his entire career. And I think he's fed up. I think he's frustrated with the way this name, image, and likeness is going. And so he said it. What he said is accurate, but in the parlance of today's college sports world, it's not a big deal because players are making money. What Jimbo Fisher did was go scorched earth. He got very personal. He used the word despicable in describing Nick Saban 15 times. Now, that's not a lot for Mad Dog to use in a single paragraph, but it's a lot for a football coach. Right. And ultimately, he created this just towering inferno with his response. He got very direct with Saban. Talked about he's the opposite of what I want to be. He made fun of the position as the czar of college football. He's even used words like Saban is godlike, and people that have worked for him know differently, insinuating personal character flaws, which I've never heard anybody mention. So, I mean, it was really one of the most extraordinary press conferences I've ever heard. He went DEFCON 1. He did not speak yesterday, Molly. He is speaking this afternoon. What he says will be watched very, very closely.
Go ahead, Dougie.
Oh, well, listen, I'm with Paul. I love Paul. I listen to him all the time. He knows the SEC a lot better than I do. Here's what I'm going to say. I'm down on the both of them myself. I don't want to listen to Jimbo Fisher, all right? That was not the best way he left Florida State. We know that. He did not distinguish himself. That's the nicest way to say it with the Jameis Winston scenario. They did not have a lot of these top recruits until this whole thing with the NIL came from. He was too loud, which indicates to me that he was very defensive, that maybe Saban hit a nerve here, which is an indication that something's going on. And let's call it like we see it. Jimbo Fisher is not a patch on the fanny of Saban when it comes to college football. I mean, let's call it like we say it. Listen, I think Saban moaning and groaning, I don't want to hear that either. He has gotten they had 37 players. Is it 37, Paul, from the 2017 team that played in the NFL? 37 guys. And he wins a championship every year, and then he gets the top draft picks in the world because everybody wants to go to Alabama. So Nick moaning and groaning about recruiting is a little rough to take. Let's call it like it's a little. This is a guy who's won 7 championships. Can you calm down? Figure it out. I mean, picking on him is absurd. But I'm down on the both of them, but I'm more down on Fisher myself.
I'm a side with you more so than Paul on this in terms of being down with both of them, down on both of them. Here's where I would be critical of Nick Saban, and that's hard for me to do because he's my favorite college football coach. I love him to death. He's invited me down to speak to his program.
Did you go, by the way?
Twice.
Good for you.
In the interest of full disclosure, I've spoken to his program. Obviously, I've done it for Dabo Sweeney as well. I had to do a mea culpa there because I picked Alabama to beat him, and they beat Alabama in the national championship. That's a different subject for another day.
Let me get it. And he was told it was the best speech ever, too. I'll say it for him.
Well, he's good at that. I can't get Saban on the radio when he's doing public speeches for crying out loud.
Anyone that went down to Alabama.
I just respect Nick Saban so much because I think he provides a template for what you can expect as a kid once you go into the real world. And I so appreciate that, because as hard-nosed as he is, he prepares the guys to let them know the world doesn't like you. The world wants what they can get from you. And if you don't provide something to them, if you're not an asset, you're a liability. And if you're a liability, you're going to be gone. I don't think there's a college football program in America that teaches that better than Nick Saban football. So that's why I'm such a strong supporter of his, because it extends beyond the playing field. But Nick Saban knows better. And what I mean by that is, when you said the programs, you knew what that was going to connotate. Now, he was right with what he said yesterday. He didn't say they did anything illegal, because with name, image, likeness, obviously, if they did, quote unquote, buy every player, and obviously he was hyperbolic when he was saying that. But if that was the case, it's not illegal in today's college football because of the NIL issue. So from a literal perspective, he wasn't wrong in terms of when he said, I didn't say they did anything wrong. But why would you isolate an individual program? Why would you bring up Texas A&M? Why would you bring up Deion Sanders prime time at Jackson State? Why would you do that? You have to know that there's going to be a fallout from that. Nick Saban has been around too long not to know better. Now, Paul is absolutely right about this. Nick Saban is incredibly frustrated with the whole NIL issue. It's driving him nuts, and he's not alone. On numerous, I've spoken to numerous college football and college basketball coaches, and what they believe is transpiring is that they're being extorted as programs, because these guys are not allowed to go get agents, and as a result, they could come to you and say, look, what are you going to give me, because this other program is saying they can get this from me outside of the program. I can go and get marketing deals, I can get this, I can get that, and as a result, you're using agents to extort college football programs. So Nick Saban's frustration, Paul, and correct me if I'm speaking out of turn, what I deduced from what he expressed is that, damn it, why aren't more of y'all speaking up about this? Because this is going to ruin college football. Why am I the one standing? And he's not standing alone. Kirby Smart and others feel the same way. I ran into Kirby Smart, who actually asked me to bring him on to talk about this subject. He's not running from it. But the point is, Nick Saban's one of those dudes that's fiery. And when he feels like people are not standing up to address an issue with the fervor that it deserves, that frustrates him. And I think he let that get the best of him with what he said.
Before you jump in, I have a question. Are these NIL rules also leveling the playing field for recruiting? And is that why he's frustrated? Because then he's not just going to get all the top guys anymore, and these other programs, lesser programs, have a chance.
Molly, that's exactly what it is. And I think that's at the root of what frustrates Nick Saban. He controlled the sport for so long. You guys have talked about it. He's won 7 national championships. Alabama wins a national championship every other year. And it's not as easy for him, because most players were going to Alabama for the reasons Stephen A. laid out. It's the creme de la creme. They put more people in the NFL than literally everyone until this year with when Georgia had 15 players drafted. And Saban has been at the epicenter of that. That's more difficult. And people bring up his age. He'll be 71 in October. It's not his age. He's the same coach he's always been. But Saban knows there's not a lot of runway left for him. So every time he loses a player, and I was told recently that there was a player on the market that the going price was $3 million. And guys like Nick Saban are not going to participate. If I could detour, Molly, with your indulgence, I have to say something back to what Mad Dog said a minute ago, if I could. And I'm not patronizing the guy, because he is eminently successful, and it's an honor for me to have met him. But I heard Mad Dog. I heard Chris Mad Dog Russo say something a minute ago, Stephen A. He talked about the way that Jimbo Fisher left Florida State. Mad Dog, you of all people, you destroyed the single greatest sports talk show team in the history of mankind for personal gain, for your own ego, for your self-absorbed dreams of having your name on a network. You broke a man's heart in Mike Francesca. The guy has been like selling pencils on 3rd Avenue since you cast him out. So I can't sit here in good conscience and listen to you talk about someone else when you're at the root of the worst breakup in entertainment history. I mean, at least since the Beatles, I should say.
Well, that's a little strong. Number one, I was there for 19 years, to be fair. Fisher wasn't there at 19 years. But listen, Jimbo, pipe down. Well, why are you responding so much to Nick? And Saban's had the cream of the crop for so long in Alabama, and now we got a big issue with it. Nick, deal with it. You got all the great players. You don't have to worry about it so much. I was a little surprised. And the average fan doesn't care. Does the average fan care where these kids are going to school?
Well, let me say this to both of you, and I'm surprised that I'm the one that has to bring this up to my two elder statesmen. I don't get it, but I'll try. Nick Saban, what I got from him was a guy that's frustrated that his brethren, his contemporaries, aren't as gung-ho against NIL and the impact that it's having on college football as he is. That's what I mean. To me, that's an entirely different thing. Yeah, he's approaching 71 years of age. The runway is not as long. I get what you're saying, Paul. But we also know that a guy like Nick Saban appreciates competition. I don't think he's averse to that. What he doesn't want is people coming in and extorting college football programs. Now, we don't care because we believe programs have, basically extorted players for far too long. But that's what they're feeling. And he's saying, my contemporaries are letting this go. Why are y'all not speaking up?
But to the earlier sentiment, Stephen A., he's not just saying that they're being extorted. What he's also getting frustrated with is now these other programs have a chance because they have another way of getting guys. So it's not extorted. It's also what I said to earlier, that it's both things can be true.
Well, let me ask you this. Hold on, Molly.
Let me finish. That it's leveling the playing field for these other programs.
Molly, here's the problem with what you're saying.
What?
The man was just in a national title game.
Yeah.
He's got 7 rings.
Yeah.
It's not like he was outside of the playoffs looking in. And I'm here to tell you something right now. If Jamison Williams and those boys hadn't gotten hurt, all right, they would have won the national championship. I think they would have beat Georgia. So let's not talk like Nick Saban is like, oh my God, I'm sitting here ultra concerned about everyone else catching up to me. Excuse me. This is Alabama.
Stephen A., how do you think he got here? Because he's ultra competitive, and now he doesn't have the #1 recruiting class for the first time.
He gets all the players. Now he doesn't get them.
Paul Feinbaum, you know this better than me. What was Alabama when Nick Saban arrived? They were in the dirt. Nobody was thinking about them. He resurrected the program.
Well, but in fairness, I mean, it was a great program until it came apart. But, yeah, I mean, he changed everything the first day. He won a national championship in 3 years. It's the most dominant run in college football history. So, yes, all of that is true. But I think Molly has had the best, if I could judge all 4 of us here, I think Molly has had the best argument of this group. I think ultimately despite all the bloviating here, Nick Saban is worried because everyone is coming toward him. And I think he's particularly worried about Kirby Smart to the east. And I think he's very worried about Jimbo Fisher to the west because money now talks louder than anything else in college football. All those national championships, Stephen A., all those guys he's sending to the NFL don't matter as much because these players have their hands at it. And one more thing, all this screaming and hollering by Nick Saban, it's not going to change anything because nobody can change it. The NCAA is begging Congress to bail them out. And guys, Congress has much bigger problems right now than bailing the NCAA out.
My last quick question to you.
Highlight that.
My last question to you. Do you think Alabama has money?
Stephen A., they have a lot of money, but they cannot match the oil wells of Texas A&M, the money that program has. And they also don't have another thing. They don't have the desperate desire to win. They're used to winning. Alabama fans are like, what happened last year?
Yeah.
We came in second. That's unacceptable. I mean, this program owns the sport. Nick Saban does not look at a second-place finish as anything other than a failure.
Let me tell you something, their wide receivers don't get injured in the college football playoff game and the national championship
killed them in the SEC
They win the national championship. No disrespect to Georgia. Nick Saban worried about competition. The hell is wrong with y'all? Please.
Everybody knows money talks.
Please. Nick, I'm just talking about being worried about competition.
You should know
Bring
that.
it on.
I'm the Mr.
This is Nick Saban.
Capitalist. Hey, Paul, so great to see you.
Good seeing you, man.
And enjoy Devin
Nick
and all of it.
Saban
Don't work
worried
too
about
hard.
competition. Please, please, please. Nick, this is Nick Saban. This is Nick Saban.
Can we roll the bump?
Okay.
He's not going to stop. You want to give me a roll tide, so the roll the bump? Don't miss this. We're going to rank by Paul the most storied franchises ever. Let the debate and the rage begin. Plus, Steph Curry's long-range shooting ability is admired by NBA players and fans alike. But has Curry actually changed the game for the better? We get into it.
It all comes down to this, what every player hopes for every season. A shot at the NBA World Championship.
Of course you're nervous. You're supposed to be. We all have felt the nerves, but it didn't matter.
5 seconds to go. Magic with a hook shot, scores with 2.
Because once you hit that court, you realize that you're home.
Chicago.
This is what you do, and all those nerves fade.
Champion in the NBA.
There's 2 different types of hunger. The hunger to win it for the first time, joining the company of legends. Then there's the hunger to make it back. Because once you taste it,
It looks so much better in person, too.
you'll do anything to get it again. But no matter where your hunger comes from, you're gonna need it.
Take it away, Mad Dog.
All right, now it's time to put a little class with our little list. So usually see Stephen A. up there, and now we say, Mad Dog, that will be permanent, I promise you. All right, here are your top 5 storied franchises in the history of professional sports.
Hold on. What's this category?
Professional dynasties, the greatest dynasties in the history of sports, pro sports.
Go ahead.
Dynasties.
Go ahead.
This is inarguable.
I'm watching.
This is inarguable.
I'm watching. I better like what I see.
Number 5 are the Canadians.
Oh,
they are the history of hockey. They've won 25 Stanley Cups.
You lost.
Albeit they haven't won since '93. But go to Montreal during a postseason run. You're talking Guy Lafleur. You're talking
Guy Lafleur.
Maurice Richard. You are talking Ken Dryden, Larry Robinson, Guy Lapointe, Bob Gainey. You are talking Ivan Convaye.
You're right.
No question about it.
Okay,
They are
we can do
5.
that hockey. We
Have
can do
to
that
be.
hockey.
You
Okay,
got
go
to
ahead.
put them. You got to show
Go ahead.
respect. You got to give them 5. They are the NHL.
That better be the only hockey team on it.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
agree with you. Now, this is the only basketball team I think we might have on here. Here is number 4.
Oh, my
These
God.
are the Boston Celtics. Obviously, Russell won 11 championships. Bird won 3. Pierce won another one. This is Kuzi. This is Russell. This is obviously Havlicek. This is Bird. This is Paul Pierce. Let's put him in that category as well. This is a franchise that from 1950 to really currently today has been a dominant NBA franchise. They got 17 NBA championships. Auerbach is one of the all-time greats. You're talking Kuzi, Russell, Havlicek, Sam Jones, on and on and on. Bird, Parrish, and McHale, greatest front court in history of the sport. They are number 4. Number 3. I probably could push this a little lower, but I'm going to put the Steelers as 3, only because the Steelers in the decade of the 70s were probably the best football team we've ever seen over a period of time. Won 2 titles, lost 2, came back and won 2 more. All those incredible Hall of Famers. The greatest defense you're ever going to see. Bradshaw, Starworth, Franco Harris, Swan on offense. Just an incredible, and again, a dominant team. America's team in the 70s. Supposed they won 2 more after they won in the 70s. Number 2, it's not even an issue. Don't even argue it. Number 2 is the Green Bay Packers. Curly Lambeau, it's an established team in 1920. They've won 13 NFL championships. Lombardi's the greatest coach in the history of professional football. 9-1 in the postseason. Won 3 championships in a row. That hasn't been done since. Won the first 2 Super Bowls. Go check out the 62 package. Go check out the 66 package. Go check out the Ice Bowl in 67, the greatest game in history of the NFL, when Starr went down the field 68 yards, 4:38 left, 17-14 down, in 40 degree below weather. Don't listen to him, he's lost. Green Bay is number 2.
I am lost. How old are you? How old are you?
I'm old enough to know that. And then number 1, I mean, you can't even debate it. Now, I'm not. I wanted to put the Mets here. I can't. Number 1 of the Yankees.
Did you say the Mets?
I can't put the Mets in.
You said the Mets?
I almost did. Almost did. Tom Seaman didn't quite make the list.
Oh, my
Number 1.
Oh.
Number 1's the Yankees.
Okay.
27 championships. The Bambino. Gehrig. Joe DiMaggio.
Yes.
Mickey Mantle.
Keep going.
The 98 team.
Keep going.
The current edition now.
All right.
This is
Don't forget Reggie Jackson.
Reggie Jackson.
Don't forget Greg Nettles. Don't forget Chris Chambliss. Don't forget Mickey Rivers.
100%.
Don't forget him. Don't forget him.
We agree.
Don't forget Billy Martin. Don't forget George Steinbrenner. Don't forget any of them. No. Give them all.
Yankees are number one. I hate the Yankees, but it is where it's the house that Ruth built. It's the home office of Major League Baseball. 27 titles. They're worth more than any other franchise, including Dallas. The Yankees are number one. There is no debate. There is no other team you can put in there. You want me to come up with a sixth team? I might come up with the Dodgers.
No, don't.
You want to come up with a sixth?
I got something to say. I got something to say. First of all, let me say this.
Right.
You saved yourself. Because when you put the Yankees up here.
Well, you got to put the Yankees.
27 World Series championships. I mean, you would have been banned from television had you not had the Yankees number one.
I agree.
So you saved yourself with that regard.
Well, what do you mean save myself? There's nothing wrong with this list.
But yes, it is. There's a whole bunch of wrong with this list.
What's all that?
I'm not going to debate the hockey because I don't know a damn thing about hockey.
You know the Canadians, the Habs?
All I know is that the puck is black. Okay, it's cold, and I love me some Gary Bettman. So I'm going to do that hockey because that's my man Gary Bettman, okay? I root for that man, great commissioner. That's the only reason. I'm not going to debate the hockey because I don't know anything about that.
So 1 and 5, you're okay?
Right. A 1 and 5, I'm okay. Let's get to this list here. The Packers.
Oh, come on.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. Listen. How old are you? I thought you were in your 60s. You sure it's not your 90s? You sure it's not your 90s? What the hell is that? I don't want to hear anything about the Packers when people just started playing football and come on, I'm not trying to be...
They're an original franchise.
I know they're original, and I'm respecting them, but I'm talking about all-time dynasties. You won a Super Bowl with Brett Favre. You lost the second one, all right, to John Elway and Terrell Davis and those boys. Then you won one with Aaron Rodgers, which was a big... Listen, this was in the 60s. You got 2 Super Bowl titles in the last 60 years. Stop it! That's not money! Listen, by the way, I appreciate the fact that the trophy was named after him because, again...
So you need to know!
Listen, wait a minute. Because, again, they started everything. We give them their respect. But this is about dynasties. This is about great franchises. Stop it! Get them out of there!
How can you take them? What are you kidding me? Oh, you're nuts. You can't take the Packers out of this.
Are you ready for this?
Yes, go ahead.
Get them out of there. You can leave. Listen, I'm a Steelers fan. And they produce, and I get all of that.
Yankees, Steelers, and Alabama. Is there a bad team and you root for the Knicks?
Are you ready for this? The Knicks, damn it. The Knicks. Okay? But here's the deal. I would take the Steelers out of here. And I'd put Alabama. Bear Bryant, now Nick Saban. Okay?
Fair.
So I would take the Steelers out.
That's fair.
All right? Listen.
Fair. I'll give you that one.
Okay?
Fair.
And number 2 with the Packers, the hell with that.
You're taking both the NFL. You're not going to have an NFL team in here?
Excuse me. If I would pick an NFL team, I'll leave the Steelers in there if you want me to. Then I'll remove the Canadians.
No, you can't remove. Every sport's got to be represented, Stephen.
Okay. Well, every sport has to be represented.
Yeah, you got to have every sport represented.
Every sport is represented.
Right.
I'm going with the Lakers.
Over who?
I want the Lakers instead of the Packers.
Oh, you're kidding me.
I want the Lakers instead of the Packers.
The Lakers only started in 1960.
Time out. The Boston Celtics have how many titles?
17.
How many titles does the Lakers have?
You're going to count them, Mike?
How many titles do the Lakers have? How many titles do the Lakers have? How many championships do the Los Angeles Lakers have?
You've been killing me about Mikan and Kunla forever. He won 4. Now all of a sudden those titles count.
Oh, wait a minute.
Now that's not right. You've been 1950s basketball. I have been murdered on this show.
You brought up Kobe.
Sluggers and all that nonsense. And now all of a sudden you're going to put the Lakers and we're going to count the 4 titles.
Hold on.
That is not fair.
Hold it.
That's not fair.
Come on. If you can bring up Russell, Havlicek, Kuzi, and those guys, I can not only bring up Mike into them, I can bring up Magic, Kareem, Worthy, Kobe, Shaq, Byron Scott, everybody.
They got 13 without Mike, and they played in Minneapolis, not Los Angeles.
Excuse me. The bottom line is the Los Angeles Lakers have as many titles as the Boston Celtics. How do you get to put the Boston Celtics in the top 5 and the Lakers are nowhere in the top 5?
They only have 13 in LA, 17 in Boston.
Only 13?
That's not 17.
Only 13.
That's not 17.
Only 13. Only 13.
That is not 17.
Only 13.
Yeah, be careful. Put the Yankees fifth if I'm not
Just stop it.
What about the New England Patriots?
No.
I had Lakers,
That's my error.
Patriots, Warriors, the Dallas Cowboys.
The Cowboys didn't start until
Red Sox,
1960.
the Dodgers, there's some others.
Cowboys don't belong here. The fact that you brought up the Cowboys, I'm walking away. I'm walking away. You brought up the Cowboys.
The Cowboys are the most valuable franchise in sports. All right, we have a hard out, I'm being told. Whatever, Stephen A. You know I'm right.
I don't.
Good job, buddy. You still have a fresh hour first take coming your way right now. As Steph goes for his 4th ring and his first Finals MVP, has his style of play changed basketball for the better? Also, we've got a Twitter back and forth between Draymond and KD, a little beef, who's siding with who. We'll get into all of that, and there are just too many things standing in the way of a Rams repeat. More Stephen A. versus Doggy in just a bit. Don't go anywhere. Steph Curry has almost all the accolades, a future Hall of Famer, 8-time All-Star, 2-time MVP, 2-time scoring champ, 3-time champion, but he has an opportunity to catapult himself to an even higher echelon. Let's look at Steph Curry with the shot by the numbers. No one more dangerous from 3. He will certainly extend many of his three-point records in his quest for a 4th chip. He's the all-time leader in playoff threes, finals threes, and had 32 in one series against LeBron in 2016. He also had 9 in one game. That was game 2 of the 2018 finals. Amari Stoudemire joining the party. Great to see you, sir. And I'm going to start with you. Do you think Steph has changed the game for the better?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, the game obviously is different now, right? Because when I was playing the game, you had a lot of bigger power forwards and centers. The game was inside out. You play, kind of a methodical game. In Phoenix, we started to somewhat shift that type of style, right? We went to a smaller ball. I moved to the 5. Sean Marion went to the 4. And we played more of an up-tempo style. The Golden State Warriors took that formula and took it to a whole new level, right? Those guys are playing great basketball. Everyone's moving the ball. It's beautiful to watch team basketball on display every night. And I think Steph Curry, the way he plays, and he's like the nucleus for this team with that style, he's the guy to actually change the game for the good for sure.
Go ahead, Doug.
Well, I think he changed Golden State's game for the good, for the sure. I agree with you on that. But if anybody saw Game 7 with Milwaukee and the Celtics, I've been watching the NBA playoffs, believe it or not, for about 55 years. That was the worst Game 7 I've ever seen. They shot a combined 88 threes in the game, and Milwaukee was 4 for 33. It was an unwatchable basketball game. How many times have we seen Miami in this Eastern Conference final? What they have 7 for 45 in one of those games? Yeah. I can't watch a team throw 38 bricks up and the ball doesn't go in. I want balance in my basketball. I know three-point shooting is important. I can live with it, but I want balance. I want to see Amari do his thing down low. I want to see him go into the basket. I don't mind throwing the ball down to Kareem and watching him hit a sky hook once in a while. And I think it's gone way too much on the perimeter and not enough inside the paint. Mm-hmm. I want balance in my sports. Right. It's like football. Do you want to see 30 bombs every game, or do you want to see a little running game? You want to see a little defense? And hockey, do you want to see up and down constantly, or you want to see 9-8, or once in a while 2-1? In tennis, do you want to see a bunch of hard servers serve constantly and nobody can return and it's all serve and volley, or do you want to see ground strokes and you want to see a balance? Everything needs to have balance, and I think the NBA at times has lost a little of that. Yeah. And Game 7 of Milwaukee and Boston, even you, who was in the building, you cannot dispute that. That was a horrific 7th game with 88 threes. It was unwatchable. You have to admit that.
Well, I was in Boston for the Boston-Milwaukee Game 7. I was there for the Boston-Miami Game 7. But I will tell you this. You're not wrong, Doggy. I just think you're pointing the finger in the wrong direction. This is why Stephen A. Smith is here to the rescue, baby. That's why I'm here for you. Here's the deal. It's not Steph Curry's fault because Steph Curry can shoot. Mm-hmm. Steph Curry, he changed it. People say he changed the game. No. He elevated it to a point where it was acceptable because you're looking for somebody to produce somewhere close in the vicinity of what he does and what Klay Thompson does to a slightly lesser degree, okay? But the reality is, you know who the biggest culprit for all of this is? It's Mike D'Antoni. Mm. He knows that. He played for Mike D'Antoni. Mike D'Antoni wanted you to shoot threes or layups. He didn't want no mid-range game. He would consider benching you if you took a mid-range shot. Am I lying?
Except for me. I mean, I shot a lot of mid-range.
Not you. But those guards that you put out there,
absolutely.
If they launched mid-range shots instead of 3, Doggy, he didn't like it. Yep. I'm going to tell you something else because you'll appreciate being a historical individual that you are, that Molly so eloquently stated earlier today. Okay, Molly's going to explain it the way it needs to be explained. Okay, but here's the deal. My brother, the guy I love so much, that I believe is the greatest player to have ever played, Michael Jordan, is responsible as much as anybody for for changing the game for the worse when you consider you. Stay with me on this.
Okay.
This is throwing no shade on Michael Jordan, of course. He's the greatest ever in my estimation, number one, all right? But he was so phenomenal that the NBA marketed the individual, the audience gravitated towards the individual, and the game became a bit more individualized because people wanted to be like Mike. Before Mike, you had Bird and Bird and Magic. Well, what was Bird and Magic? As great of a shooter as Bird was, as Mr. Clutch as he was, okay? Bird could pass, Bird could rebound, Bird had McHale, he had Parrish, he had Dennis Johnson, he had Gerald Henderson, he had a whole bunch, Danny Ainge and others. They had a team, all right? Blue collar, but team. Well, what was Magic? Magic was Showtime. As phenomenal as Magic was, what was his number one attribute? Passing. So guess what? He inherited Norm Nixon. You had Jamal Wilkes, all right? You had Kareem. All of a sudden, you got Worthy. You go from Norm Nixon to Byron Scott. You still got Michael Cooper. You got Michael Thompson. You had Kurt Rambis. The list goes on and on. And you marveled. And think about this. You had guys once upon a time that would grab rebounds and want to dribble. Magic came along, and the first thing you did was grab that rebound. Where's Magic? Here you go. And Magic pushed the ball up the court. He had Worthy on his right. He had Byron Scott on his left. He had Cooper trailing. And if that didn't materialize into fast break points, then they'd slow it down and wait for Kareem. What I'm saying is you were thinking team until Jordan elevated it to another level. And from Jordan, then you had the Kobes, the Vince Carters, and others that came along thereafter, and the individualization of the sport, particularly because of the money that came with it, became more of a vocal point. So I would tell you, Mike D'Antoni, in terms of three-point shooting, all right, and making sure to maintain the pace, letting people score so you don't disrupt the pace. And then Jordan with the individuality, even though he obviously was a team player and the Chicago Bulls were a great team, the marketing of the individual, those two components is what made the game what it is today, which some people like yourself may not like, but guys like he and I accept.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think you know, with Michael Jordan, right, he was obviously the greatest player of all time, in my opinion also. And he did have like a one-on-one style of play when he first got into the league, but then it shifted a bit with that triangle offense.
That's right.
And the ball started moving. And so I think with Steph Curry, for an example, the way he plays the game, right, he's also a very good passer. You know, not only is he a great three-point shooter, which he get most of his credit for, but he's also a great team player. Like, he plays with his teammates. He moves the ball. He passes the ball well. He cuts and get guys open. All those little intangibles are important for these young players to see, because everyone now want to shoot these deep three-pointers. They think that's the game, want to just cross half court and shoot threes. But if you really study the game of basketball and look at Steph Curry, he has a lot more to his game than just shooting threes.
Of course.
And that's something that should be noticed.
I totally agree with you on that, but the problem is most people want to do what Curry does and shoot the ball from half court.
Right.
But there's only one Stephen Curry, who I happen to agree with him, is the greatest shooter of all time. You know, Sam Jones is in there, Reggie Miller's in the discussion, but he's the best shooter of all time. You're 1,000% right on Jordan. He's by far he is better than LeBron. He's the best player of all time. 100% agree. And Jordan bought the NBA. Give Stern credit. And the Lakers, of course, with Magic, and Boston with Bird. So you had the great rivalry reincarnated because the two of them. But they're more team-oriented. And Jordan bought a Bulls team. I don't want to downgrade Pippen, because Pippen's great. But still, it was Jordan's deal. Now, I think the triangle offense is incredibly overrated. As Cotton Fitzsimmons used to say, the old Phoenix coach.
Cotton Fitzsimmons.
You know Cotton? I love him.
Yeah.
He said, here's a Cotton said, I don't want to hear about a triangle offense. Give me number 23, and I'll run an offense too. Because the triangle offense was about Jordan. And in games were decided in the last 6 minutes, and he made every shot known to man. Nobody talked about the 23 offense. It was Jordan making big plays.
What I would say to you is this, respectfully, because Scott Fitzsimmons was a great basketball mind. No shade on him whatsoever. But what I would respectfully modify in terms of his position, they didn't win until Phil came along. They had Doug Collins. They went to the playoffs. They obviously, with Jordan in the shot with Greg Elo, give Jordan the ball and move the hell out the way and all of this other stuff. But there were limitations. Went to an Eastern Conference Finals, but there was limitations. Phil Jackson comes along, and he had to convince Jordan to trust his teammates. And him trusting his teammates freed him up to be as great as he could be when it really, really counted. Because a lot of times the guys around you couldn't get you to that point in the game where it really, really counted because they just weren't good enough. So you got to recognize that too. We can't throw shade, and Phil Jackson proved it. Don't get me wrong. I have no love for Phil Jackson, the executive. He should be banned from New York City for what he did to the Knicks. But as a coach,
No, he agreed. Went to LA and he won there too.
What Phil Jackson did, the Lakers had Del Harris. Couldn't win with Kobe and Shaq. Got Phil there, won Phil's first year there. Can't ignore that.
Yep.
That's fair. Now, I mean, I do think you got to be fair with in Chicago. Jackson got there when Jordan and Pippen matured. Remember, let's not forget about the migraine in Game 7 in Detroit when it was Phil Jackson.
Because people believe that Doug Collins could have won it too.
I think he could have.
Yes.
But I do understand. He makes an excellent point because you're right. Jackson's great deal is he became partners with the team's best player.
That's right.
And he became a partner with Jordan, and Jordan believed in him, gave him the books and all that.
And Jordan retired because they were getting rid of Phil.
That's true, too. Pippen had a lot to do with that as well. And then he convinced Kobe and Shaq to work together, too. So I understand your point. I think the 23 offense, though, the triangle offense, I know Tex Winter gets all this great credit. I think it's a little overrated because offenses are about great players. You had a wonderful offense when Nash was running it, and if you didn't have that issue with the clearing the bench and you getting hit in the head, or was it Nash?
Nash got hit.
And then you came out.
Y'all might have won.
You would have won that series.
Yeah,
You would have won that series.
I don't know.
Oh, they would have won that series.
The chances.
Before we go to break,
They had a 3-2 lead though in Game 6.
I know, but San Antonio's tough.
Correct.
Before we go to break, really quick, when do you think basketball was at its best?
I think, to me as a fan,
I'm scared.
I'm curious. He's a historian. I want to
the
know.
best NBA playoff series that I have ever seen is the '84 final.
Okay.
And look at the Hall of Famers. You had Bird, McHale, Parrish. DJ was on that. DJ was on that team. He had gotten there. No, maybe he was. He got there after. I think he was on that team. That's 4. And you had, obviously, Kareem, Magic, Worthy, Byron Scott. You had like 7 or 8 Hall of Famers, and you had the 2 great coaches. When you had, obviously, you had Riley and you had Casey Jones, 2 great top 75 coaches.
Yep.
That, to me, Michael Cooper, that, to me, is the best final I've ever seen. That's the famous Rambus. That's the famous Rambus clothesline by McHale.
Right.
So before your time. But that is
we're actually
he was
in
10.
agreement.
He remembers it.
We're actually in agreement.
That's the best final I've ever saw.
We are in agreement. That was the best.
All right. Amari, thank
There
you
was
so
no
much
finals
for
better
stopping by.
Yeah, no problem.
Good job, Amari.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Oh, yeah. He needs his approval. Good job. Way to go.
The Canadians settle down. Hey, they're trying to become a dynasty. That'd be the Rams. They'll look to defend their crown 99 days from today when they host the Bills. But that would be a much tougher task without arguably the best defensive player in the league in Aaron Donald. Here's the Rams superstar on his football future as he waits for a new contract. A recent appearance on the I Am Athlete on Mad Dog Sport. You have a channel. It's unbelievable. Sports radio. It's fire.
I'm happy. I'm fine. I don't need to play. The thing is, I don't need to play football to be fine. Like I'm fine. Like I was blessed to play this game, to make the money I made, the accomplishments I made in 8 years is like, you know what I'm saying? It's like I'm complete. I'm like, if I can win another one, that's great. But if not, I'm at peace.
Okay, again, that was on Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Yep, I Am Athlete.
Yep, one of the great shows on your
He was
channel.
also at Game 7. Wasn't he? Was with Philadelphia with Miami?
Yes, he was.
Tell me this: are there too many distractions now, you think, for the Rams to repeat?
I think this is a perfect reason of why I didn't put the Rams number 2 there last week with the top 5 list when Stephen A was yelling at me. This is I just get the idea that the Rams right now are so satisfied with winning that Super Bowl, a life accomplishment, that I am not too sure what's in the tank this year. I can see a tremendous hangover. They got a brutal schedule. I know Donald, this is about money, but he's almost like he feels he's at peace. You can't go into a football season, and I know we're a month away, training camp, but you can't go into a football thinking, you know, I've accomplished my main goal. I'll play, but hey, you know what? I won last year. I think McVay's done 1 million commercials. He was obviously romanced by all the networks. He could have left football. I think he is the same boat. I think Stafford will be into it, but I think a couple of components about the Rams have me very, very concerned. They got a brutal schedule, easy division, but a brutal schedule. And I love Donald. We all know how great he is, but that quote right there that we heard is an indication to me that, you know what, he'll play because they're going to pay him a fortune, but I don't know if his heart's in it as much as it should be. And as a result of that, I think they could struggle.
I thought it was a negotiating tactic.
Well, that's
I'll let Stephen A. explain.
What did I tell you yesterday? What did I mention yesterday when we were talking about Aaron Donald? You weren't here. So, but clearly you were probably listening, even if you didn't know you were.
On DVR.
Because the bottom line is that's exactly what I said. Because we all know that Aaron Donald is big time. He's the highest paid interior lineman. You got about 5 edge rushers paid more than him. As far as I'm concerned, there's no defensive lineman. There's nobody on the defensive line in the National Football League that should be paid more than Aaron Donald. He is the creme de la creme. He is the absolute best. And he is a champion by and large. The Rams, by and large, are champions because of him. I had my dream scenario. Molly will tell you this. Before the Super Bowl, leading into the Super Bowl, everybody was raving so much about Joe Burrow. I said, here's what I want to see. I want the Rams to have a lead. And I want Joe Burrow to have the ball in his hands with time on that clock. No rush. You got enough time. And I want him to go up against Aaron Donald and that defense, and let's see what you made of. Can you bring the chip? Because if you do that, under those conditions, Joe Burrow is the dude. You know what I'm saying? It's official. If you go up against Aaron Donald and those boys and you pick them apart in a game-winning Super Bowl drive, those are legacy-defining moments. And that's what I wanted to see from Joe Burrow. And sure enough, Aaron Donald took over and just said, we're going to end this the way this is supposed to be ended. He took care of it. My point is, this conversation is not about Aaron Donald's greatness. It's not about what he's worth, because we all know he's worth whatever the market bears. If it's $30 million a year for an interior lineman of his stature, so be it. He deserves it. That's not what this conversation is about. What this conversation is about is, how much do you really, really want to play? If you're saying, I'm cool, I've done what I came to do, I'm ready to step away from the game. There's a difference, Molly, and I'll hand it to you.
Yeah.
There is a difference, and Doggy I think will agree with me on this. There is a difference between somebody who says, I want my money, and somebody who says, you give it to me, you give it to me. You don't, I'll just retire. When you talk about retirement and is that easy for you to do, I'm not saying that's a reason not to give him his money. I'm saying that's a reason for a franchise to have a little bit of apprehension about building the franchise around you when they don't know how long you're going to stick around, because you may not want to stick around because, like you said, my original plan when I came into this league was to do 8 years. After 8 years, I'm done. I've been here 8 years. I won a Super Bowl title. I did what I came to do. I'm good.
Yeah,
that's entirely
here's
different.
from my vantage point. I think it's a negotiating tactic, and I think he's saying, I'm good from the standpoint if I'm not going to get what I deserve. So why am I going to play? I'm good. I can walk away unless you're going to pay me what I deserve. So I'm at peace. Like, I'm just telling you, if you're in a job and you're not getting what you deserve, you might say, you know what? I'm good. I'm good. I love what I do, but you're not giving me what I deserve, so then I'll walk away.
But Molly, you're talking about walking away to go somewhere else where they will give you what you deserve.
But here's the thing.
Not walking away from the business.
Stephen A., that's what he might just be saying that to people. You don't know. Then someone else could end up on another roster. You don't know if he's necessarily.
Listen, I ain't Miss Cleo. I don't know what the hell he needs. All I'm doing is quoting him because he's alluded to retirement on several occasions. He didn't allude to leaving. He didn't allude to going elsewhere. He alluded to going away from the game.
But this is it. You know, in negotiate, you can't believe anything. He's in the middle of trying to get a new contract.
I'm not saying that you should believe him. I'm just saying we don't know. Just like you said, we don't know. If you're talking retirement, that's only point I'm making is talking retirement is entirely different than talking about I deserve my money.
Yeah.
Or else.
I just feel like he has the upper
different
hand.
languages.
Like, you're going to give me what I want or I'm good.
Why doesn't he say, you know what? I want another one. Let's go. I want another one.
Well, that's why he came back, because he wants another
one. Well, I mean, you know, he's 30 years old. But, you know, if you give him $30 million, you're going to kill your salary cap. This is not baseball, where you can get a guy $40 million and build your team. $30 million, you're going to have to cut players to pay him $30 million. There's a cap there. And so the team he can get his money, but the team could be hurt. I think this is amazing.
Incentives. The Patriots were great at doing that.
Maybe, but still, eventually you're going to have to pay. You got the signing bonuses and all that. This is going to be an issue for the Rams. I don't know if their hunger is there to repeat. And I think you're going to keep an eye on that once the season starts.
Okay. Now to another much more serious story in football. Another woman has filed a lawsuit against Deshaun Watson, joining 22 others who accuse the Browns quarterback in civil cases filed in 2021 of inappropriate sexual conduct during massage sessions. In the 23rd civil case filed Tuesday in Texas against Watson, the lawsuit states that the plaintiff had her first massage session with Watson during the summer of 2020 and that his behavior grew worse. According to the lawsuit, the woman changed her mind about suing Watson after watching HBO's Real Sports with Brian Gumbel last week. On that show, two other women, Ashley Solis and Kayla Hayes, who has also accused Watson of inappropriate sexual conduct, criticized the Browns for giving the quarterback an NFL record amount of money, $230 million guaranteed, after trading for him in March. Now, Rusty Hardin, Watson's attorney, vehemently denied the allegations in the new suit. Stephen A., your reaction to this latest development? Now we have a 23rd woman.
It's not a good look. Where there's smoke, there's fire. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it ain't a damn mongoose, as they say. And we understand that. We get that. But there's another side to it. The other side to it is that he vehemently proclaims his innocence. It's hard to imagine and associate the word innocence with somebody that has 23 different allegations or 23 different people making an allegation against them. All right. But he says he's innocent. And so we'll let the courts, civil in this particular case, we'll go from there. Here's what I would tell you. At the end of the day, and this is where, because I was listening to you talk about this a couple of weeks ago, Doggy, here's where you and I respectfully disagree. I think you hold the Browns more accountable. I hold the NFL more accountable. And the reason why I say that is this. If I'm a National Football League team, as egregious as it may be in the eyes of many, if I'm the Cleveland Browns, for example, and I ain't won a damn thing since Jim Brown was playing for me, that's spanning 50 years or 50 plus years, right? And I got a fan base that's starving. And a lot of them, no matter how much they say they care or actually do care, come football season, they want their team to win, right? I'm going to try to get me the best football player if I know he's going to be available to play. That's where the NFL comes in. What the hell are you dragging your feet for? The fact of the matter is these cases have been levied against Deshaun Watson for a long time. My position on the NFL has been very, very clear, okay? I believe in innocence until proven guilty and all of this other stuff. But beyond all of that, I take it to another level. The NFL has suspended people for impugning the integrity of the league. They've suspended people. They've exiled them from the ability to play football because of accusations and allegations. When you say you're investigating, what it means to me is, oh, so you're going to find out something that law enforcement officials don't know? You're going to be law enforcement now? You're going to bring the heavy hand of the law down upon one of your players when the judicial system didn't do so? That's where I have a problem. Where you keep your hands clean if you're the NFL is when you say to a player, his agent, his family, his team, we don't give a damn what anybody says about his innocence or guilt. This is our league. And the fact that he found himself in this position is why we're going to act. They're not doing that. They're investigating, which to me gives the impression you're doing law enforcement's work. And that is not the NFL's job. You're touching on very dangerous territory when you do that if you're the NFL. That is
and
my
this
problem.
would fall under conduct detrimental to the league. And I'll just say this, since this whole thing hasn't been settled. The women described it in the HBO piece as a slap in the face, that during all of this, that he received the most guaranteed money ever. And I'm sure it is.
Well, again, Roger Goodell's worried about the Pro Bowl. Nobody cares about the Pro Bowl. This has been going on for 10 months. What is he doing? It can't be that difficult. Make a decision. And remember, the Browns really showed the NFL up. Hey, you want to give him $1 million this year. So if you suspend him, who cares? He's going to get his $229 million after this year's suspension's up anyway. So suspend him for 2 years. Make him hit in the pocketbook. I'm down on Watson. I'm with Steve 100%.
There was more of an uproar about deflated footballs, okay? That's all I need to say.
It's a good point.
Leave it at that. All right, more First Take after this quick break. Stay.
And it begins Thursday night. The Warriors, led by their big three of Steph, Clay, and Draymond, are seeking their 4th NBA championship in 8 seasons. Meanwhile, Jason Tatum leads the historic Boston Celtics franchise back to the finals for the first time since 2010. First Take, live from both cities. We'll have the hottest debates with Molly and all your favorite analysts, and of course, yours truly, Stephen A. Smith. So tune in Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN.
All right, Steph Curry seeking his 4th title, but his first finals MVP when the Warriors face the Celtics starting tomorrow on ABC. Draymond Green recently appeared on the Colin Cowherd podcast and said he thinks Steph Curry could have won a finals MVP already because he was the main ball handler on those squads, even the ones with Durant on the squad.
Kevin Durant was absolutely incredible in those finals runs. As you know, You watched it. We all watched it. Kevin Durant was absolutely insane. Steph Curry got double teamed probably 7 times the amount that KD did in a given series.
All right, that prompted this back and forth between KD and Draymond on Twitter. Durant started by tweeting, "From my view of it, this is 100% false." Draymond then weighed in saying, "You have to learn to listen to full takes and not snippets before you get baited into tweeting, champ." KD then responded, "Oh, I've seen it, my brethren. I appreciate the compliments, but I disagree with what you said about double teams. That's all. I love the show." All right. Who do you agree with here, Stephen A? Are you with Draymond or KD on this one?
Well, I'm with KD on it, but let's give both of them credit and props. There's no hating going on. There's no insults. There's nothing like that, and so much was made about when they had their falling out, which they ultimately addressed with Draymond's podcast. And by the way, I think he's doing a great job with his podcast, even though he was what Colin Cowherd did, the great Colin Cowherd there. The bottom line is that when I watch the NBA Finals now, Draymond is far more aware than I am of what's happening on a basketball court that he's participating in. His brother's a basketball savant. But I got news for you. So does Kevin Durant. He knows some basketball his damn self. And if he says that he respectfully disagrees, 100% false, that Steph Curry was doubled 7 more times than him, I believe KD. Because when you look at KD's on the court. He's got a career 30.3 point per game average in the finals, by the way. That time he was MVP the first go-round, he averaged 35 and 8 on 53% shooting, I believe, in the finals against LeBron. Kevin Durant was something else. Now, when you look at Kevin Durant, with Steph Curry, his movement without the basketball, the switching and things of that nature, that all comes into play. But that's one of the reasons why I think that it's hard to fathom that he was doubled, because with their willingness to be so selfless, sharing of the basketball, not necessarily having that quintessential Chris Paul type point guard that just brings the ball up the court and has the ball in his hands a vast majority of the time. That's not the Golden State Warriors. It certainly wasn't the Golden State Warriors when Kevin Durant was there with Steph Curry. So as a result of that, why would you be doubling Steph Curry that much if he didn't have the ball the way that, say, a Chris Paul or a quintessential point guard would have the ball? I'm just thinking about it from a logical perspective. I'm going on recall, too. I didn't see a guy doubled 7 times more than Kevin Durant. That's not what I witnessed, because I didn't see a guy that had the ball in his hands with that degree of regularity while Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson was on the court with him. That's why I lean towards saying I agree with Kevin Durant on this particular situation. I do agree with Draymond that Steph Curry might have been doubled a lot. He might have been doubled more than Kevin Durant. But 7 times more, I think that was a bit excessive, and I think that's what KD was saying.
Well, it's not the way Golden State plays. Move the ball, everybody touches it. So I don't know if Curry's going to have the ball enough times in a scenario where they're going to double team him, and he's 100% right. I like to have Durant for once in his life, and I love him. I'm with you. I love him. I love the guy. But I like the guy, and he should never have left Oklahoma City to go to Golden State. I also believe that, too. You said that earlier in the show. I was all over him for that. He took the easy way out on a team that won 73 games. That bothered me, too. But I do love him. Does he have to comment every time somebody says something that might be a negative? Every single time he's yelling at Kevin, let it go. It's not that big a deal. Let it go. He's always got. It drives you crazy. He's too sensitive.
Not me.
It's too sensitive, Steve. He says
it's just
all
fun
the time.
for him, though? You think maybe he likes kind of like messing with it and just having fun on Twitter?
Well, he's done it. Rappaport, he went screaming. He went nuts with the Michael Rappaport thing. He's just too much on it for me.
But let me ask you a question. Let me have some fun with Dougie here for a second. Let me ask you a question, Doug. Because you host the radio show, and got a lot of callers calling up in there every day. every day, right? And how many times do you find yourself behind the microphone wishing? I mean, can the players say something? Can they speak up for themselves? I mean, as all of this stuff is going on, could you give us some clarification?
Can we hear a quote?
That's exactly. That's what he gave you. What's wrong with Kevin? Kevin Durant didn't insult anybody. He didn't argue. He said, I heard what my teammates said. I believe this is 100% false. What's wrong with that? You're right.
Is it that big a deal?
No. What I'm saying to you is this. You are right getting into it with Michael Rappaport. That was excessive. No call for that. No cause for that whatsoever. That was a bit extreme. Some of the other arguments you get with somebody with 2 followers on Twitter, something like that, yeah, that's fine. You're absolutely right about that. But we're talking basketball. And he's saying from a basketball perspective, no, Steph Curry was not doubled 7 more times than me. I would think that Mad Dog Russo, all right,
would like the fact that he responded.
Like and appreciate the fact that a player directly responded with his take on the scenario without getting personal, without being offended, without being disrespectful in any way. He just talked basketball and said, hey, we disagree. I like that. Last time I checked, Doggy likes that. Doggy appreciates that. When people who are knowledgeable about the sports, who are actual participants in the sport, take time to clarify their position on the sport. I thought that Mad Dog Russo was about.
Fair. Maybe I'm down on green. Who the heck knows? But the bottom line is, do we need? I mean, first off, Durant was the best player on the team.
Yes.
So why does anybody knock him about? Well, Curry was doubled 7 more times than he was.
Well, that's with Draymond.
But that's ridiculous. He was the best player. Durant was the best player on that Warrior team.
Yes,
Not even an issue.
Yes, he was.
He's the best player. So when you are the best player on the team, why would you say anything? Well, you know what? He was the best player because Curry got double teamed 7 teams.
Then that would be your problem with Draymond, not KD.
Well, fair.
KD didn't do anything.
Why would you respond to something that doesn't make any sense?
It does make sense to Draymond. He would know. KD just disagrees. I like that. We're learning about basketball from 2 former teammates who were champions.
Watch the games. I don't need to be taught. I see the games. I'm watching the game.
You can see the
Some
game.
of you're up there in the front.
You can see the game, and there's plenty of people who watch the game that don't know what the hell they're watching, and you know it.
I know what I'm watching.
I know you do, and I know. I'm not saying you. I'm saying they're educating the audience.
Never.
I'm not implying that you didn't know. I'm saying you're educating the audience.
He doesn't respond.
Do you respond to haters on Twitter?
99% of the time, no. They could kiss.
Never.
I never
Let it go. It's not a big deal. What is the?
I do, because then you're just
they're in the final.
to their level.
Depends on what type of mood I'm in. It's very cathartic at times. Just so you know, I would never do this because you're a senior, you're a veteran at this. Me personally,
He got called a senior yesterday.
It makes me feel good sometimes to cuss people out. Now, not 99% of the time, no. Yeah. But that 1% of the time, I'm just in that mood. I might be stuck in the airport waiting for my flight. You know what I'm saying? I might have been in the restaurant.
Why are you worried about that?
That's what I think's happening with KD.
I didn't say worry. I didn't say worry. I actually, again, it's very rare. It's very rare. But 1% of the time, I don't mind cussing people out. No. It's very.
You're better than that.
It's
therapeutic.
It's exhaling.
It's cathartic. That's what it is.
You know, waiting to exhale. Whitney Houston, Angela Bassett. You remember that movie, right?
Of course, I remember Waiting to Exhale.
Okay.
Of course,
absolutely.
It's a classic.
Absolutely.
I had the CD too. The soundtrack was incredible.
Yes, right. It was.
All right. We'll leave it there.
Let it go.
Now on Twitter, number